This is a little recording or movie that Hazel made on our recent trip to the Cotswolds Water Park. This was the first full day where we took a drive to Tetbury. Even in the small villages here, there were some housing developments, although none of them were on the scale of what we have at home. The wall you see here on the right is like many of the walls around the Cotswolds. Whatever the length and size of them, there is no cement on them at all. They're completely dry stone. Quite amazing how they stay together. Another noticeable thing down here is how quiet the roads are compared with the madhouse where we live. So quiet that you get the uniqueness now of a pony and small wagon. Everybody is quite happy to leave to do its thing. They're also politely, very grateful, acknowledged. Lovely. And here we are, arriving at Tetbury, where the most noticeable thing straight away is people happily giving way to each other, unlike at home where everybody races to be first at the spot. Certainly a different pace of life. Notice the Cotswold stone houses, and again the dry stone walls. Then coming into the marketplace, according to the dear old sat-nav, we've got to go down to the right to find the car park. There we go, there's the car park just down there on the right. There's the market hall, and then we're in Church Street. We stopped there and had a snack and a coffee, and then took a walk down here to the church. With yours truly banging away with his still camera. Quite fascinating, some of the old graves. And obviously some of them were fairly wealthy, looking at the size of the tombs. Not just a headstone for these folk. Verging on mausoleums, really. Still very well kept, a lot of it, which is nice to see. You know, leaving some of it fairly wild, which is also nice for the insect life. And further along here, at the boundary wall, there are lots of small headstones, some of them quite recent, so I assume they were where people have had their ashes interred, and a little memorial. Seems quite nice, whatever. Quite incredible how they built these back in the day without the modern equipment that we see now. Front steps look fairly new, certainly don't back. Then it's back to Lake Pochard, where our lodge is, and this was the following morning, and we was quite intrigued to see the geese doing a march past the front of our lodge. Watch out for the swan, who's making a beeline across. He seems at times not to allow the geese on that particular lake that he's on with his mate and their chick. As it goes on, you'll see him start to give them some grief. The other side of that bank, there's a couple more lakes where they do all the fishing, and that seems to be where the geese go, because the swan doesn't bother them when they're in there. Now here we see the swan getting in battle mode. Certainly seems to be selective in the geese he's getting shot off. Head down, shoulders back and charge. Why he left those, I don't know. But then he comes back for another go. Just look at the aggression. A bit like a cowboy rounding up the cattle. Not finished yet, having another go. On our trip today, we passed through Royal Wootton Bassett, which of course got given the title Royal after all the funeral corteges that passed through when the bodies of the service people killed in Afghanistan were brought into RAF Lynham, and then the cortege would always go through Wootton Bassett, which there was a large ceremony for the fallen. Not much to see in the village now, apart from the small high street bit, which was a bit that was always on the news. There's not much to see really. Then on to our destination for the day was the Avebury Rings, a World Heritage Site. There's lots of a large circle with lots of these stones to be seen. All run by the National Trust. Just visiting the stones is free, but the museum and the manor house are paid admission, unless of course you're a National Trust member. As yours truly just did a little jig for you. This is the area where the facilities are, toilets, cafe, the admission office, etc, etc. Over there, that's the manor house. Picnic tables. In the centre of the picture here is one of the biggest dovecotes I've ever seen. It's the manor house. Quite a lovely garden as you go in. A bee's paradise, I guess. A lot of kitchen garden. There wasn't much food being grown that we could see. A few lettuces, some peas, but no great abundance of anything really. And across the lawn to the manor house. Actually laid out the inside in different eras. So you go from Tudor, 20s, 30s, etc. Each room is done in a different era. This one was the Tudor room. Laid for dinner. Nice boar's head. Few apples. And there's the table laid. And their finery. And we sell tables like that in teeny weeny world. This is the billiard room. If I remember rightly, that's set in the 20s. And into the old kitchen, the old copper pots, etc. And it was at this point Hazel decided that inside was too difficult to video with all the people, etc. So this is the last bit of video of the interior of the manor house. See you outside. And back in the garden, put on a wildlife hat and did some video of the busy little bee. Came out rather well, I think. They're not always easy to find. You have to zoom out, find it, and then zoom in again. But when you get it, it's quite effective. How busy is that little fella? sort of bumblebee shape, but very golden rather than black. There are umpteen species of bees and I don't really know any of them. I know a honeybee and a bumblebee and that's about it. Very golden fur on its back. That's me trying to get a still shot of one. And a different one inside the flower. Busily busy. From there we took a walk back up to the stones and the ring, where there is a large circular bank and ditch which encircles the area, including part of the village. It's known as a henge. It's the largest stone circle in Britain. Originally there were about 100 stones which enclosed 2 smaller stone circles. They date back to the Neolithic period, roughly between 2850 and 2200 BC. All very interesting. I believe it was a ceremonial site and formed part of the sacred landscape. This is an ash tree which they've put the rope around because of the age of the tree. They're worried about branches breaking off and injuring people, so you can't get too close. But in this day, with the diseases, it's one of the few ash trees left. And this is Silsbury Hill. It's the largest artificial mound in Europe and compares in height and volume to the Egyptian pyramids. Completed around 2400 BC, it apparently contains no burials. Though it's clearly important in itself, its purpose and significance remains unknown. And then back to the lodges and Lake Pochard for our last evening before departing for home tomorrow. At this point we decided to take a walk around the lake. Again, capturing the bees busily being. This is from the other side of the lake. We were a bit undecided which was our lodge from that side, but I believe it's the one on the left of this picture, although it could be that one. Either way, it's one of them, and very nice they are too. Very well equipped and very clean. Certainly be happy to go back there again. Just a general view of the lake itself. I believe they're all old quarries anyway. And then back to the nature shots. Make a change from the bees, we'll move in onto the damselflies. There were loads of these, and the vast majority were mating. But as this is a family film, we don't show those ones. For a 12-year-old camera, I think the detail comes out quite well. Of course, a steady hand helps, hence Hazel doing it and not yours truly. I'm sure there were larger dragonflies about, but we didn't actually manage to catch any. Used to get a lot of these at our pond when we lived in Warren Way. Some say if you put a pond in your garden, the wildlife will find you, and it certainly applied there. We finished up with newts, frogs, dragonflies. Don't know how they found us, but they did. Then old Woody appeared. I'd actually seen a woodpecker when we first arrived in the trees, darting about in the trees behind the lodge, and seen him a couple of times, and I'd said to Hazel, there's a woodpecker around, but we never saw him at all. Then on the last evening he came down for a feed right in front of our lodge alongside the lake. So he did put in an appearance to show that I wasn't mad and gave us a little show. Thank you very much, Woody. And there you go. Woody is the finale of the show. It was a nice short break, lovely weather, lots of interest. Would we do it again? I think so. Maybe not the same place, but in the area. And thanks for watching. Bye.